9 years ago this week, Americans entered into a world they never imagined they'd see in their lifetimes. For the first time since Pearl Harbor, a foreign enemy attacked an American city. For the first time since the Civil War, we were faced with the prospect of a war that could take place in our own communities. And for the first time in our entire history, every citizen of the United States was a potential target. For most of us who lived through that time, 9/11 has never really left us. There may be times when everything seems like it used to be, but try maintaining that poise in an airport or at a crowded sporting event. We are each haunted by that memory and by the searing but silent knowledge that it could happen again. On the anniversary of 9/11, many of us will watch the heart-rending footage of the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and the Pennsylvania countryside that fell prey to the terrorists on that day. But as we commemorate that solemn occasion, we need to remember more than the agony of 9/11. We need to remember the defiance and sense of purpose that we found on September 12th. To keep our elected officials accountable, we need to examine their actions in the context of that day to remember what it was like when we were all conscious that the implications of their decisions were life and death. What would we have thought on September 12th if we knew that America would give radicals in Afghanistan a date certain for our departure, letting them know exactly how long they have to wait before attempting to restore the regime that safeguarded Osama bin Laden?
The president made it absolutely clear. I sat with him when he looked at each of the generals, and he said, "Gentlemen, here's the deal. I am going to allow you to surge, and I want you to do it quicker than you had planned, these additional 30,000 troops. But here's the deal. December of next year, we're going to assess whether this proof of concept has worked. We are not going to be discussing whether you add a single more troop. The only issue will be how rapidly we begin to draw down those troops in July of 2011.
What would we have thought on September 12th if we knew that our government was insisting on a civilian trial for the mastermind of 9/11, despite the fact that this same process has revealed classified intelligence to Al-Qaeda in the past? What would we have thought on September 12th if an Islamic radical tried to set off a bomb in Times Square and the mayor of New York City said that it was probably the work of someone who disliked liberal healthcare policies? What would we have thought on September 12th if we knew that the leading state sponsor of terrorism in the world was seeking nuclear weapons, and we were responding by trying to get them to the negotiating table?
Would you be willing to meet separately, without precondition, during the first year of your administration in Washington or anywhere else, with the leaders of Iran, Syria, Venezuela, Cuba, and North Korea, in order to bridge the gap that divides our countries?
Should also point out that Stephen is in the crowd tonight. Senator Obama?
I would. And the reason is this, that the notion that somehow not talking to countries is punishment to them, which has been the guiding diplomatic principle of this administration, is ridiculous.
And what would we have thought on September 12th if we were told that nearly a decade later, Osama bin Laden was still nowhere to be found? Hopefully, Americans will never have to live through another day like September 11th. The best way to assure that outcome is for us to live every day like it's September 12th. That's this week's Freedom Minute.